Hi, Dr. J. This is and my aunt is, and I am wondering if you know her. Apparently, she was having some conversations with you on Facebook. She's 82 years old, and we just want to get to the bottom of why she would be talking to you, and you guys would be calling each other honey and sweetheart and everything else. If you could give me a call back, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome to the Beverly Hills Plastic Surgery Podcast. I'm Dr. J. Calvert, and I am here with my most surprised co-host, Dr. Millicent Rovelo. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, but what I want to know, are you the real Dr. J. Calvert, like the real one?
I am. But, as you can tell, somebody was posing as me, trying to catfish this poor woman's grandmother who has Alzheimer's disease and is 82 years old. And, of course, the most important fact, just sold her home and put the money in the bank.
Of course she did.
Of course she did. And that's why a J. Calvert account with 3 followers started chatting with her and calling her honey and sweetie, and we have to get together because
she has money in the bank.
She has money in the bank to get. And there are catfishers and scammers everywhere trying to get the most vulnerable people on this earth, trying to get their money.
I know. And so that's the topic of this podcast. It's going to be about these scammers and these catfishers because it's kind of really important to get this message out there. And the crazy thing is, as long as I have been working with you, going on 5-6+ years now, I have heard these stories that you've told me accumulate over and over and over again. And I've seen firsthand examples, which we can get into, about these, poor people that are being taken advantage of. And it just keeps continuing. So I think now is a really important time to sort of lay out the facts of how this happens and what to look for. So let's start with some background. What are people doing with your name and likeness, like generally?
So what they do is they create fake accounts. And this is not just with my images and my name, then they take my images and give it a different name. There are so many fake accounts out there. It's incredible.
Instagram, Facebook.
You name it. TikTok, they're everywhere. And what happens, and a lot of times they pose as me, and other times they use my images, and there's a group that's out of Southeast Asia and Africa, a crime syndicate that has used my name and likeness to catfish people. And sometimes they're saying they're me, sometimes they're saying, the classic story is this one. I'm an orthopedic surgeon in Syria. I'm working to help victims of the war here, and my wife was killed. My son needs medicine. And all I need is money for his medicine, or I just need money if they get them to fall in love. They're called love scammers. It's a really common scam.
Right.
They're able to say, I just need 7,000 euro to get a visa, and I can come to you and we can be together. And what happens is, as soon as the money gets wired, zip, that's it. They're out. They're right. It's over.
Right. But it makes sense. Kind of makes sense, that story, because a lot of times they definitely use your face, and they'll use your real name, but usually they'll change it. They'll keep the initials, but it'll be like,
Joe Clark.
Yeah, they'll switch it around.
Everybody can go to joeclarkmd.com and check out my website as Joe Clark. And by the way, we've had this removed multiple times, and he's in Taiwan, and he's actually sent me things just to show me I'm never going away. I'm going to use your stuff for the rest of your life.
The rest of your life.
He kind of takes pleasure in the fact that we can't get rid of him.
And they do. And they use the name, they use the likeness, and usually they say that they're a doctor because, doctors do have some standing in terms of being, reliable. People wouldn't think that a doctor would lie to them, so they tend to believe them more rapidly. And then, of course, the son and the widower. It's this whole sob story. And the way they typically get these people is, they'll say, I just need this money. And as soon as I get back home, or as soon as I, get my account unlocked, I'll pay you back. I promise. And they believe them because they're a doctor. So of course they have money, and of course they'll pay you back. And this is just a temporary thing.
Well, the bottom line is that these people are getting scammed for huge amounts of money.
Super scammed.
Huge amounts. One person in Southeast Asia sent $150,000 to a fake account. Ooh. And what happens after they get scammed, then they do a reverse image search. They find out it's not Gunter Klaus or Joe Clark. Those images are actually Jay Calvert, and if they had looked closely on some of the images, they would have seen my scrubs with my name. They would have seen a diploma.
But a lot of times they still think it's you.
They do.
And then they try and find you.
And they've tried to find me, and then they send me gifts and things. I mean, it's really sad, and I feel terrible for them. And in fact, they go down the rabbit hole so deep that even after they're scammed and the scammer account is gone, they'll just keep sending me things like they're still talking to the crime syndicate. Right. And the FBI doesn't care. The Interpol doesn't care. Nobody cares because the crimes aren't big enough. The $150,000 one got some attention, and I think they did catch these guys that scammed that person. And she's hoping that she gets her money back because we just checked in. Remember, I said, hey, let's find out what happened with her. Yeah. That was a few years ago. And this one just came through from Northern California, where the daughter seemed, or the granddaughter seemed very aggravated with me.
Upset with you.
Yeah, she was upset with me, like I was doing it.
She was not happy. What I find fascinating about these people that have been scammed and victimized is when they realize they've been scammed, or not even that they realize they've been scammed yet, when they lose communication with the person they've been talking to, then they become really good detectives at finding the real Dr. J. Calvert. Like, even when your name was never given, I'm like, how did they find you? How did this lady from California get your cell phone number? Like, all of a sudden, bizarre. They all become these, internet sleuths, and they can find you based on your image. I don't even know. I would have no idea how to find a person just based on their image. And so all of a sudden,
it's very easy. Reverse image search.
Now they find. Now I know. Next time I get scammed, then they find you, and usually they think that it's actually you, and you were the D-bag that actually scammed them, and then they find out that it actually was not you to begin with. But this is not unique to just you. This happens to a lot of usually plastic surgeons or any kind of doctor that has a really prominent social media presence, so that anybody has access to their photos, knows a little bit about their life story, and can piece together a reliable profile. So I know it's happened to you. I know of other doctors that happened to. Like, their images and their profiles are constantly being used to catfish people.
100%. And in fact, one of the actors I take care of, she told me that, I was telling her about one of these people that got scammed for, 15,000 euro or something like that. And she was like, oh yeah, that happened with me. And somebody contacted me and said, did you get my money? They couldn't get in touch with the person who scammed them after sending $60,000 or $80,000 or something. And evidently they used all of her images to create a fake account, and then chit-chatted with somebody and got money to help with a new movie project, quote unquote, that she was supposedly doing. And then they sent the money, and boom, account's gone. Yeah. So then they worked really, really hard to contact on the back end. To contact the agent to get through and say, did you get my money for the project? And she was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Awful. You got scammed. Yeah. And it's terrible because these people really go, they're first of all, the scammers are professionals. It's not a person. It is a crime syndicate. Yeah. It is a business with scripts that work, that are really effective. Yeah. And they target people that are really the best targets. In my case, when they do the love scams, they target a female who's at home, who's on the internet a lot, who has money. They always make sure they have money. Yeah. They always know if they have money. They don't scam people that are broke. Right. They scam people who have money. And in the case of the phone call we heard, this woman had just sold her home and had money sitting in the bank along with a little Alzheimer's disease and some loneliness, boom. And you know, it was funny when I was talking, I called because I was like, well, I'm going to call and tell them the bad news that nobody's actually on the other end of that. It's a crime syndicate that wants her money. But even after talking to her, I was like, you know, I think they're still going to send the money. I could kind of tell that they were kind of like, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure she's talking to a Jay Calvert over here. And I think, you know, they're in love. And it's like,
no one wants to believe that
they don't want to believe that they got scammed.
That they've been scammed. No one wants to think that, you know, they were fooled in that way. Right. So sometimes it's just better to keep going along with it, because who wants to be the person that was scammed and not really loved or not really, you know, been given the attention they thought they were giving? That's really hard to accept. And
then she said, well, I thought it was weird that you only had 3 followers. I was like, because it's not my account. I'm like sitting there going like, it's not me. It's not my account.
Yeah. We have more than 3 on our live
I don't have
feed.
3. I don't have 3 followers. I don't. It's not my account. I'm just like, I'm saying it. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to send the money. Like this lady's home. That money is all going to some, you know, crime syndicate out in the middle of, you know, Botswana or wherever these people are. I don't know, but they're not in this country. The authorities don't care. And in fact, I talked to a guy from the FBI. He goes, well, serves him right for being so stupid.
Aww.
I was like, that's not the point,
that's
dude.
Not helpful. Yeah.
Not helpful at all. I said, these people are getting away with murder. They're getting huge money. And by the way, where do you think that money's going? If a crime syndicate in Africa or Southeast Asia is taking the money.
Yeah, it's going to.
It's funding bad things.
Bad things.
It's funding bad things. And I think that's a huge problem.
Well, they have been cracking down. You know, they had a whole roundup of a Nigerian crime syndicate a couple of years ago. And that's usually where we see a lot of the scammers coming from. But the thing is, they're only going to get better with the introduction of AI and the ability to do these deep fakes. Like, I keep going back to this video you showed us of somebody imitating you speaking.
Oh, so funny. I got to find that video. Oh my God.
It is so good. So
that's got to make this video.
The original video, this is years ago, is of you standing in front of our OR in Roxbury, and you have your cap on and your surgical mask, and you're explaining the details of a case that you're about to do. There's a patient there, and you're talking about your surgery, and you're talking the rhinoplasty and the this and the that. Like it's, you're nerding out about your surgery.
Totally. That's what I do.
But then some scammer took a cut of that video and dubbed your voice and was just speaking nonsense.
Well, no, he wasn't speaking nonsense. He was speaking about love for this woman.
But it was like word salad.
It wasn't so clear.
I want to show you my heart.
It's so sad because the problem was that this woman did ultimately send. She was from Sochi, Russia, and she sent like $8,000 to these people or whatever, and it was just terrible. And she sent me all the information. She goes, I'm going to get a lawyer. I'm going to do this. I was like, good luck. Guess where these people are?
Nobody
You're going to go track them down?
Yeah.
You need frickin' Liam Neeson in Taken to find these people.
Yeah.
I've developed a special set of skills that makes people like you a problem, and I can come after you. That's my best Liam Neeson I can do. Anyway, the only way you're going to get these people is if you are able to literally track to their computer, track to their IP, and be ready to grab them literally, because all they have to do is get a new IP address, and they're off and running. They're gone.
Yeah.
And the money comes out of the account. As soon as they wire that money, it goes to another account and it's gone. It's like it's in and it's out, and now you can't get it anymore.
Nope.
So how are you going to trace that? How are you going to trace that money? It's gone. I mean, it's terrible. And I'm glad we're doing this podcast, because now when I get these emails and these poor people, I really feel terrible for them, because it's like they're like, well, you should do something about your images. I'm like, I'm a plastic surgeon. I'm out there, we've already established that I'm a public figure in some other nefarious, activities by other news stations. So this is just, you should know, like, buyer beware before you wire that money. And you've never seen this person in the flesh. And here's the other thing they do. The problem is they have seen this person in the flesh, because they can take my image or your image or anybody's image, and they can 3D animate it so that they can put it on their camera. It's just a filter program, and they can speak as me by video chat.
Right.
Simple program, nothing fancy. This is not even difficult to do. We do it all the time. How many times do people take their Snapchat and then they look more handsome, or they look like a banana, or they look like corn or broccoli or whatever? Same thing. They can take my image, line it up with their face, and then they can 3D chat as me. And so it is easy to have a fake chat. And with AI, you're right. It's
only going to get worse.
And there are people that are out there just waiting to give them their money. It's terrible.
Please don't. I mean, the amount of times it's happened is terrifying. I've heard the stories. I've seen it in person, like multiple times in the office, people sending gifts or people calling the office, asking for you. And it's like it's happening so often and so frequently, and obviously not just with your account, with plenty of other people's accounts.
Absolutely.
So don't send your money to anybody that you don't know. Just don't. And don't send your money because your grandson's being held hostage. Don't send money because somebody's wife is dead and their child needs medicine. Don't send money.
No, you should not do that. The other part of that story, though, which is also, it's very distressing, is that once the scammers go, the people, the victims, experience loss.
Yeah, because they thought they were in love with someone, that someone loved them.
They experience loss.
Yeah.
In a big way. And
it's like a betrayal.
It is. And it's like, I realize it wasn't you, and I realize that this was, they get it, but it's like, I can't help but feel like
you broke up with someone, you lost
something.
Someone.
Yeah, but it wasn't real.
That is so sad.
It's really tragic and terrible, and hopefully by doing this podcast, we'll stop somebody from going down this rabbit hole. And what was the story about the strangers? Like somebody impersonated a Stranger Things actor and
did the same thing to some other, victim, and caused her to send money and disrupt her family life because she thought she was actually talking to a Stranger Things actor, and obviously she wasn't. And same thing, same story.
Yeah, I mean, like, you'd think you'd do the math and put it together, like, oh, this can't possibly be them. Maybe I should confirm that with a face-to-face meeting if they really are that person, before writing checks and before destroying relationships, all those sort of things. It's like, it happens, and it happens hard.
They're very good at what they do. They're very good at pinpointing the right people, and it's unfortunate. And this is just a buyer beware podcast. Don't do it.
Well, there you have it. So in the future, just think it through. Just think it through. Somehow think it through. I mean, it's hard because probably people are going to be listening to this after they've done it.
Yeah.
Well, it sucks. The internet's a dangerous place. Use it with caution. And this is the Beverly Hills Plastic Surgery Podcast, coming to you from the 90210. Legitimately from the 90210.
But like for real.
For real.
For real. Dr. J. Calvert.
That's right.